Recorded at 2023's Equip and HNA show in Louisville, Kentucky. Here's your host, TV personality and hardscapes contractor, Matt Blashaw.
All right, so your name, what you do, name of the company, your position.
Yep, so I'm Grant Stanley with Fine Touch Services. We kind of do really anything and everything that a customer can ask for at their home residentially. A lot of landscape, but we also do any kind of general contracting work, maintenance, mowing, fertilizing.
Interior?
Interior, exterior.
You do it all.
Yeah, we do it all.
Like a one-stop shop.
Yep.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
I got to ask you about that. Did you have employees?
No, so it's
subs?
actually just two of us. So my partner, Jake, he runs kind of all the back-end office, all the marketing, sales, things like that. And then I do all of our outside sales and project management. So what we'll do is we'll meet with a customer, and at that point, whatever they kind of ask us for, we'll do all the takeoff, the estimation. And then if we close the project, we'll pair it with one of our contractors. And from there, kind of do the project management aspect of it, take them from start to finish with Fine Touch Services, but we also just have a contractor that we're working with to get all that done.
Interesting.
Yep.
That's an interesting model.
Yeah.
Right? Because you're, that's, in my life, because I do an interior and exterior as a contractor, but they'll always ask me, do you do this?
Yeah.
Do you do this? Right? And I was like, well, I don't necessarily, but now once you get into one, you can get into the other.
Get into the rest of it.
Right? So you're leaving, there's no opportunity that's missed.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is fantastic. How old are you? How'd you get into this?
20.
20?
Yep.
Dude. How long you been doing this?
So I've been doing it 3 years. I kind of started it prior when I was in high school and just kind of did it because I wanted a weekend job, cutting grass, things like that. I love being outside, love being creative, love working with my hands, and obviously transitioned into mostly sales now, but was going to go to Purdue, going to get my landscape architecture degree, and I kind of forewent that and just started a company. Last year, we did all of our own implementations. We had trucks, trailers, employees, things like that. And we were doing it all hands-on, and I didn't love doing that. I didn't like the managing employees, and it's kind of a different babysitting thing.
Why
now.
do you say that?
Yeah.
I like herding cats thing.
Exactly.
You don't like herding cats?
Yeah, but I knew I wanted to still be in the industry, and so I kind of sold that off. And then my partner had actually approached me and said, hey, this is how I kind of do things, but I don't know how to do the rest of it. So he knew how to do, obviously, the mulch, the mowing, things like that. And then he kind of brought me in and said, let's do everything. Because I kind of had a hand in hardscape, and then I do a little bit about construction. And then, like you said, it's kind of once you get into one, you figure out, well, building a patio is no more complicated than laying tile or flooring interior. And if you can do something structurally with a pergola, then you could also build a garage addition or do a kitchen remodel. So that's kind of how we got into it. And then just as long as we can find contractors to do it, then we really will go into a meeting and say, yep, we do that. And then we'll close a project and we'll find a contractor from there if we didn't previously have one.
So where is it out of? What city are you out of?
Fishers, Indiana.
Indiana, okay.
Yep.
So, what's that structure? Is that like, do you take a percentage from the contractor?
So we actually manage the whole project financially from a material standpoint, taking the customer through the whole build process. The contractor ends up being kind of silent in the whole thing. They would prefer it that way. We would prefer it that way. The homeowner just doesn't really care one way or another, right?
You're dealing with the customer relationship.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay.
So we'll do the material takeoff. We'll make sure all the material's there, if it makes sense. So if we're working with SiteOne, we're going to use our pavers. I'm going to make sure everything is there, minus maybe aggregate. It's easier to take the day of the project, right?
Oh yeah.
So we'll get it all there. We'll make sure we go through with the contractor what the plan is. We'll give them a full blueprint if need be. And they've never seen the contract. We kind of just talk them through how to build it, what to do. They get in, they get out, and then afterwards we kind of do all the final punch list things and the close out with the customer.
So is that what's the liability insurance? Are you guys licensed? Are they licensed?
So we carry it in the off chance that we need it. We carry everything as if we were going to be doing the implementation. Mm-hmm. That's kind of the only thing we do carry. We obviously don't have the trucks and trailers and the shovels, but we do carry the amount of insurance needed to be able to do what we're doing. If we need to, like on a bigger project like we've got one coming up, we'll carry a little bit more in case that contractor happens to default on their insurance, and we've got to kind of come in. We don't love that, but it's a necessary evil.
You got to have it.
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly.
I mean, you got to have it. Yeah. I mean, for those of guys out there that don't have liability insurance,
Yeah.
you got to have it.
Oh, yeah,
right.
for sure.
And you got to use subs that have liability insurance too. All right.
Exactly.
Just protect yourself, protect your family.
Yep.
All right. So let's talk about the challenges that you face in the industry.
Yeah.
Right. And you have a lot of industry.
Yes.
This is a wide industry.
Yep.
So talk to me about labor shortages, employees.
Yeah, so I guess I'll go into kind of some of the positives before I hit on some of the challenges. Positives that we like about using contractors versus having employees. Obviously, everybody knows if you're paying somebody hourly, they're going to slow it down. If you're paying somebody by the job as an employee, they're going to speed it up. Things will get missed, right? We like using a lot of our contractors that are single owner operator. So they'll either be them and their family or them and a couple people that, if it's our framers, it's their company. We don't like subbing it out from another company that has lots of different crews. We like to use individuals.
Gotcha.
Reason being, obviously, as a business owner, I want to work really hard and do the best job for my company. So we figured out our contractors want to do a really good job because they're just building their brand. When they do a good job for us, it benefits them. We'll give them more projects going forward, right?
That's awesome.
So that's kind of the benefit we've found of using contractors. Obviously, the downside of employees and labor shortages, we couldn't hardly find good labor last year. A lot of employee turnover, you name it, we kind of experienced it. And so, yeah, it's challenges with contractors. It's basically a certified professional babysitting job. They do a really good job, but you're like chasing cats all the time, right? Where you're at, it's only drizzling, it's not pouring rain. Why are we not here? Customers. So when the customer doesn't have direct access to the actual person building the project, there's a little bit of issue there, only because I can only manage so many job sites.
Right,
so,
you can't be there all the time.
Exactly.
And what I have is my clients will end up talking to my subs.
Yep.
Right, and they'll talk to, and then they'll make change orders.
Yeah.
And then my electrician will show up and be like, "Yeah, she just wants us to hang 3 more chandeliers." I'm like, "No, you're supposed to talk to me."
Exactly.
Right, because there goes the communication, there goes that
Yep.
change order, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's so, and that must be good because there must be incentives for your contractors because they're getting their full boat, right?
Yeah.
So there's no,
Exactly.
you're not asking them for a discount or anything.
Yeah, no.
Right? And you're just creating the service, and I like it because you're just doing the install.
Yep.
All right, or they're doing the install, and you're supplying all the materials.
Exactly.
All right. So what's the toughest challenge in your business specifically?
Toughest challenge in my business, I think as of right now, where it may be too many hats, we're in the process of hiring more project managers. When we do as many things as we do, trying to keep up with like learning all the different new things. And the biggest one is, as of recent, we closed a project to do a 14,000 square foot like hobby garage edition, right? You guys got a huge car collection. It's going to have foundation,
Did
framework.
you say 14,000?
14,000
Oh
square
man!
feet.
Oh, wow, awesome.
Yeah. So it'll have
quite a hobby.
car lifts, office, full upper kind of lounge area for
Awesome.
him.
Great
Yeah.
project.
So the challenge is there is I don't know enough about that to go to a contractor and know like if he's saying the right things. So that's kind of one of the challenges we found. Now it's helpful to go have other people in the industry kind of say, yeah, that he's saying the right things, he's doing the right things. So from a project management standpoint for us, when I don't know how to do something, I can't show up and project manage it correctly, right? So I got to kind of rely on my subs there, and that's a lot of the hard part. You got to find good subs.
Yeah. They're going to be patient with you.
Exactly.
Right, because you're young.
Yep.
All right, so this is great for you, especially young contractors out there that just want to learn. And you four went. You said you're going to go to landscape architecture school.
Yep.
I don't think that's a bad thing.
No, not at all.
Because how much you've learned twice as much just in the field.
Yeah,
right.
exactly.
And you will learn that, but you have to do those projects first.
Oh,
But
yeah.
Something that's that big. It sounds like a high-end client.
Yes.
You don't want to mess that up.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's helpful too. Like, I think the source I've learned the most from is obviously our suppliers. So when I show up and Aaron's giving me information about things I had no idea about, or he's constantly learning new things, and then he's relaying it to me, or he can constantly answer my questions. If I've got questions about plants or you name it, I show up to Architectural Brick and Tile. They've got all the information for me. So that's the biggest way I kind of learn is most of the people that are at our suppliers have done it before, and so they can kind of help us tackle those challenges.
That's awesome. Yeah, and that's why I've talked to the other guys here. Is that the SiteOne it's like that one-stop shop.
Exactly.
Those guys are all knowledgeable.
Oh, yeah.
They've installed it. They know the product. They talk with the reps.
Yes,
right.
exactly.
So they're not just going in to be a salesman. They're actually someone that can help you support you.
Yes,
in the installation.
Yeah,
process.
exactly. Yeah, or if they don't, they know somebody that they can refer you to.
Yeah,
which is a huge resource.
It's awesome. So one of my biggest, and this is for you and I, we both do interior exterior.
Yeah.
My biggest mistake is taking on whole home renovations.
Yeah.
I won't do it. I'm doing the third one right now, and I keep on saying I'm not going to do it because you spread yourself way too thin.
Oh, yeah.
There's too many details that are missed. The client keeps on adding stuff, and it just becomes an absolute nightmare for me. And then your margin goes away.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just hard to control your margin.
Yep.
All right. So what are some of the trends? Right. So you're kind of seeing the trends: interior, exterior. What are people wanting? Heating, or what do they want?
Yeah. So I mean, from an exterior standpoint, obviously, just kind of landscape lighting is a big one that we like. Just kind of lighten up the home. A lot of our high-end residential clients just highlighting and making their curb appeal. So right now, with as much knowledge as I have, it's a lot more landscape-based than interior, exterior, like kind of home renovation. But we've been seeing a lot of kitchen remodels, doing some of the more modern look. Everybody loves doing white on everything. House, exterior color, white.
We're going away with it a little bit because it was getting ridiculous.
Yeah,
we want to paint your house white.
But
yeah.
Just some of the things that aren't necessarily a staple piece when you've already got kind of an established landscape or an established home. Just doing some of those added upgrade features, like maybe like a lighting or paver patio versus stamped concrete and things like that.
Yeah, and that's really important, is that you got to know those differences.
Yes,
because I'm not a fan of stamped concrete.
Yeah.
I just don't like it because you can't get the color right.
Yep.
Right? And sometimes, if it's a bad stamp job, it's bad.
Yeah.
Right? So there's pavers, and then there's new porcelain, pavers, which are great. So that knowledge is so important going in, and that's good. You're like a sponge.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
You're constantly learning. Every day is like the whole, you learn something new every day. At this point, it's like you learn something new every hour, if not more. And having good people around you to learn the right things at the right speed, that's key.
Dude, you're like a kid in a candy store here. Oh, well, that's cool. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, there's some great products out there. So give me a recent success story.
Yeah, so we just had a project go really well for one of our new contractors. We had never used them before. Big kind of full landscape, backyard, front yard, which is a lot of fun because you can kind of take a yard that's just mud at this point that they finished the house. He brought us in and said, we want to spend $15,000. I said, you can't really do a lot. I said, but we'll put you an estimate together. The estimate ended up coming out to about $60,000, and he goes, well, go for it. And you got to love those customers, right? Because it's like, if the whole just go for it, the project's going to go pretty well. They trust you. Yeah. And as a contractor we had never used before, kind of give him a shot. And he did a phenomenal job from front to back. So he was able to kind of, on his own, he knew beforehand, before I even came in with the full takeoff and kind of the project schedule, he had already kind of put that together, which I really appreciate when they kind of come in with their own plan and we kind of collaborate versus either them just regurgitating my plan or they come in and say, no, definitively, I'm doing it this way.
Yeah.
So the project went really smoothly. Client was super happy. Our change orders actually ended up going well.
Wow. That never happens.
Yeah,
Says no one.
Yes. It was funny. He's a surgeon on call, and so at 3 a.m. sometimes he'd text me during the project and say, hey, what are the chances we could add lighting to this pergola? And I just happened to wake up in the middle of the night and go, yep, sounds like a plan. Right. Here's what it's going to be. Text the client in the morning, call Aaron, say, hey, we need low voltage lighting. I need it here by the end of the week. It went really well. And like I said, you kind of experienced this. I've experienced this. That doesn't go well a lot of times. And 17,000 in change orders went pretty smoothly.
Oh,
and
man.
We actually completed the project on time still with the change orders. And
great.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, I'm sure this guy was like, man, this guy's awesome.
Yeah.
He never sleeps.
Yeah. Well,
3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah. The funniest thing about this customer, and it was just an overall success story. A lot of clients don't get this from us, but it was a Sunday. My business partner and I were actually at the office. It was like 2 o'clock. The lead came in. I happened to be over in his neighborhood looking at another project we had just completed at like 5 o'clock. I saw it. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm in this guy's neighborhood.
Oh, awesome.
I called him. He goes, wow, 3-hour turnaround time on a lead. I said, yeah. I said, if you want, I said, we can either schedule it out a couple weeks or we can just do this meeting right now. And I said, I get you a project, like kind of estimate by Monday. And he's like, yep, sounds good. We kind of talked through that whole thing I just explained. And by Monday, we had him the estimate. By Friday, we were getting ready to start of that next Monday.
That's there's two things. I want to go back to something real quick, but how do you get your leads?
So my business partner, he's kind of a lead master. As far as marketing goes, that's his realm. He knows nothing about construction, landscaping, hardscaping, none of it.
Okay.
But Angie leads, Facebook, Google, Instagram, all of it. So we've got 9 different pools of marketing, according to him. I stay out of the computer side. He stays out of the implementation side and the sales.
Great marriage.
Yeah.
Great marriage.
Exactly.
That's awesome. That's good to know because, technology is out there and it absolutely works. Referral is one thing, but technology is there.
Yep.
But I was going to say, on your estimates, I like what you said because a client will say, hey, listen, I got $17,000 for this entire backyard. You're going, oh my gosh, this is going to be way more than that, right? Don't dumb down your price.
No, yeah.
Right? Don't cater to thinking, well, I got to get this price, so I'm going to dumb it down. Just set your price.
Exactly.
And set your standards. Sit by it because you're going to get upset dumbing down because this guy's going to, there's going to be more stuff that comes on. You're going to feel bad.
Yep.
But you need to set your price so you can have a standard.
Yeah.
Right? You know you're good.
Yes.
Right?
Exactly. Yeah. And during the meeting, too, the initial consultation, what I figured out, and it was kind of one of the pretty obvious things going into it, is nobody really knows if you're not in the industry what things cost, right?
No.
I want a paver driveway, a paver patio, landscape. I want it all, right? I want a full custom home build. But some of those things, I don't know what they cost going into it. And I realize some of my customers are exactly like that. So what I try to do is take what they've told me in that initial meeting, tentatively take into consideration what their budget is, but price out exactly what we talked about. Mm-hmm. If you could kind of explain to me what your dream is and I can put a price on that, it's a lot easier for me to go back to that client and say, well, if you don't want to leave your house and this is what your dream is and you can walk out into your backyard and be in paradise, what's that worth to you, right?
That's awesome.
$17,000, or are you willing to throw down and actually kind of get it to where it was at? And a lot of times people go, oh yeah, it does cost a lot more than what I thought it was. They'll kind of admittedly be like, hey, yep, I didn't know what it cost. And then at that point it could be, it was $17,000 or that was a tentative number we were thinking, and we can kind of up it from there. And in that case, he was a lot more.
I had a situation with Unilock pavers.
Yep.
This couple wanted Unilock pavers. This is the new herringbone. I forget what they're called, but they're like $15-16 a square foot.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, that's too Let's just do flagstone with some DG. And I was like, okay, but literally we're putting the same base under.
Yeah.
You're going to be spending the money for something that you don't necessarily like.
Exactly.
So what is it worth to you?
Yeah.
Is it this much extra?
Yeah.
I'll give you the option. So once they see that, they typically go with it. They'll want to build something that they'll enjoy.
Exactly. Yeah.
Which is fantastic. All right, so now you've told me the good. You're young, so maybe you haven't had one. What is the worst story? What is your horror story?
Oh yeah, we've had a few. There are a few. Yeah, so it's been a lot of like the non-payment clients, or they come back to us and they're like, we're suing you. I'm like, oh, what grounds? So just a couple examples. We had a lady last year that was the big $86,000 project, and this was actually when I was building everything myself. I was out there with the guys, and like a lot of these kind of horror stories are what made me transition to loving the idea of subbing it out, because I know how to tackle all the problems on the sales and the implementation side, but from a management standpoint. But when you're trying to figure out both sides of it at the same time, that becomes really challenging. And so we were in the middle of this project. It was like a 6-week project. She kept doing change order, and the total kept increasing. And we got to basically the end of this and finished it up really quick. And she goes, oh, well, I didn't think you were going to finish that fast. I said, oh, what? I mean, we have only been here 6 weeks so far. I said, I think this was as long as you needed to be able to figure out that you were approving change order prices. And we get to the end and we're already kind of in a cash flow problem, if you will, because it's middle of the summer. Things slow down on the maintenance standpoint. So our maintenance keeps our cash flow, or at that point was our good cash flow to keep our bills rolling.
Yeah.
And we get to the end and she goes, well, I'm going to need a bit. And can we negotiate this price? I said, no, we've signed. And it ended up taking 3 months to collect the rest of that money, and that kind of put us in a really tough spot. And that was one of the worst situations that I've experienced just within the industry, is kind of the get to the end of it and go, oh, well, 50% of the project total, I don't have it right now. I mean, that's really tough, but I'm going to need it because we just finished, right? There's been other examples where we've put in 50-some trees before, and an arborvitae, it'll brown up in the middle during the winter. Just naturally what happens. Client thinks they're all dead, retracts their check. You're like, hey,
it's alive.
Yeah, it's alive. It's really alive.
Yeah.
Trust me.
Do you put a warranty on your plants?
So we do one of two things. We're either going to do our original base pricing that we'll send you includes a 180-day plant and labor warranty. So after 180 days, if the plant happens to die, I'm totally okay replacing it. But you're just going to end up paying the labor portion of it. We're never going to get you on a $30 boxwood. It's like $30.
Right.
Just run it out there. Be courteous. There are, if you want to opt for not our original pricing, it just doesn't come with a warranty. I kind of always tell our customers at that point, though, it's just kind of on a per-case basis. If it just happens to be poor install, I'm more than willing to take care of you, because obviously plants at wholesale cost are negligible.
Exactly.
Right? Yep.
Exactly. And that's why I put 20%, and then I add another 10.
Yes.
And my 10 is for my replacement costs.
Yep.
Because last winter sucked.
Oh, yeah.
For arborvitae.
Oh, yeah.
And they just didn't get enough snowpack, and it was real cold.
Yep.
And it browned them up.
Oh, yeah.
So
there was a lot of winter kill-off.
A lot of winter. So, yeah, that's just, you got to just make sure to be smart.
Yeah.
All right, so what do you wish, a couple more questions. What do you wish the general public knew about our business?
About our business? We sometimes get a bad rap when the customer ends up figuring out that it was subbed. And so what I wish kind of people took into consideration, and it's a lot of our customers have custom homes that they've built with a custom home builder. And I kind of try to get the point across without coming across passive aggressive. That's all your custom home builder did was take you through the whole design and estimate process and then use contractors. And for whatever reason, when it comes to either landscaping or like an after project, if they figure it out, they kind of feel like we've just lied to them or we've like stiffed them somehow. And I'm like, well, not really. It's just kind of how our business model works. And so I kind of wish people would take into consideration that even if you're subbing it out, we still have your best interest in mind.
Right. We're vetting the guys.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We're not having guys show up that were just any Joe Schmo off the street corner. Now, we found those guys and made sure they were really good before, right? We always love finding somebody at a gas station. And it's just like, hey, they're our best sub now. But yeah, that's I think that's one thing that I wish kind of our customers would maybe take into consideration is that subcontracting doesn't mean we are just trying to make a buck off you. It just means we do this side of it really well and they do this side of it really well.
The contractor, the word means you contract other people.
Exactly, yes.
So that's what we do. We contract other people.
For sure.
So, and I know that they want, and I have 6 guys I have 3 carpenters and I have 6 masons.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
They work for me and I tell them that. But I say, I sub out this, and this. These are the guys that I use all the time. Just so you guys know. So if you have that up front and you explain that, it's a little bit easier for them to be like, oh, okay, here's this and this. These guys are showing up, just not like, they don't want to feel like they've just been handed off. Yeah. Right? And you're just taking out the product. Because I'm not going to be there the whole time. Yeah. You know what I mean? I got to do other projects. Exactly. I can't make money on this thing. Yep. All right. So one last question for you. Yeah. What would you say to a kid, someone that's trying to get into this, someone young saying, I want to do what you do? What advice would you give them?
Yeah, so I would just, getting it into any industry, but just specifically kind of either contracting, construction, or landscaping, figure out kind of the why you want to be in it, because there's obviously the guys that are in it to drive a Lamborghini and make all kinds of money, right? That's the wrong reason to get into it, and inevitably you'll end up being kind of irritated all the time. You won't love what you're doing, but figure out which aspect of it you're passionate about. So for me, I've been creative since day one, a lot of Legos and kind of drawing and painting, things like that.
Attention deficit like me.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. I love to be outside and I love to work with my hands. And so for a guy that's getting into the industry, if they can recognize that those are their strong suits, it's kind of a perfect match, right? You can be outside, you can work with construction, which is basically just adult Legos, right? You can be creative, you can put designs together, but there's so many different aspects of this industry that can really cater to a specific type of person. So figure out what you're passionate about, figure out what you're good at, and then you can really enter the industry in a lot of different ways, a lot of different avenues, and kind of figure out, what's the best long term for me to be able to enjoy all the things that I got into the industry for and kind of stick it out, right?
Yeah, because there's gonna be some hard times.
Exactly.
Like
yeah.
hard times. You're like, why am I doing this?
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
And you got to be able to love what you do.
Oh, for sure.
It's fantastic. I could tell for your eyes that you light up, and it is I could tell this is a passion.
Yeah.
You're young. You're well spoken. You'd be very, very successful. So
I appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks for coming by.
Yeah. Nice to meet you.
You too, brother.
Thanks for tuning in to Confessions of the Craft. Ensure you never miss an episode by subscribing to the podcast so you can be the first to hear new episodes and discover previous ones. Follow SiteOne on Facebook, X, formerly known as Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn for the latest trends and industry updates.